The left always eat their own. It may take a while, but it always happens. It was only a matter of time for the cracks to start appearing between the competing factions within the Tamahiri fiefdom as it unravels following the government's defunding of its intended insurgency. Aside from anything else, the Tamahiri fiefdom political party, Te Partly Maori, have divided into two factions over the last couple of months or so, with Irish Debs and Rawili Waiatiti on one side, and Romain Ferris with Supreme Leader Lord John Tamahiri on the other. It's pretty obvious that those within Te Partly Maori opposing the hardline militancy of Lord Tamahiri have comprehended that their behaviour is ruling them out of any government in any context, regardless of whether the Labour Communist Party win another election in the future or not. That's what all this reset propaganda is about. On the other hand, Lord Tamahiri and his hardline ethno-state supporters don't care about political suicide, and why should they? Their plan isn't to take our country by peaceful means through the parliamentary process. They know that they will continue to lose at the ballot box. They just don't seem to understand that they will also lose the civil war that they're trying to trigger. The other faction that has recently distanced itself from Te Partly Maori is the paramilitary wing of the Tamahiri fiefdom, the so-called Toi Tu Tiriti feudal movement. The movement is headed by Kapa-Kingi. He's the son of Maria Mino Kapa-Kingi, a Te Partly Maori MP. She was recently removed as the whip of Te Partly Maori, losing the perks that go with that job, including a $20,000 salary allowance. Eru was also the vice president of Te Partly Maori until March this year and has been a list candidate for the last two elections. As well as a rebellion movement, Toi Tu Tiriti is also a private company whose sole director and shareholder is Kiri Tamahiri. Kiri is the daughter of Lord John and therefore Duchess of the Tamahiri fiefdom. Lord John, Duchess Kiri and her husband Rawili Waiatiti, along with Irish Debs, make up the Te Partly Maori management team. Between the movement and the LLC, it appears that Kiri does the finance and processes the orders for Maori propaganda merch on Temu, while Eru is the effective military commander of the Toa-class Maoris. They're the ones Eru fooled into protesting with all that stick-waving, tongue-poking, foot-stamping and carcoying nonsense seen during the Treaty Principles Bill. Now, from the outset, it was suspected that this was a case of young Eru throwing his patus out of his waka because Mummy got demoted. And until now, Te Partly Maori have attempted to cover up the reasons for Eru's mum getting the chop. But now we have somewhat of an explanation. This has come from, of all people, a Mozzie. Now, it's a little difficult to understand because this Mozzie is speaking Maori state housing English, but listen to this.
Maori attacking each other falls straight into Pākehā thinking. This isn't Maori attacking Maori. This information came directly out of Te Partly Maori Zoom hui that was held last week across the electorate. Seeking transparency doesn't mean it's an attack. Here's the info I've been given from that Te Partly Maori hui. Maria Mino Kapa-Kingi was demoted for overspending her Te Taitokero budget by over 200,000. A large chunk of the money went to her son, Eru Kapa-Kingi, in increments of 160k, 25k and 20k. Smaller increments also, for Toi Tu Tiriti purposes. Not illegal, no jail, and if it's true, as the people who are in this meeting allege, then it'll all come out in Te Partly Maori's annual report. Why can't we as Maori be transparent and not look at it as Maori attacking Maori? I've done dumb shit, I own all of my dumb shit. I even speak openly about the ugly shit that's happened to me. Why do our supposed leaders get a free pass? Yes, I'm sure many other political parties, other movements also have unjust spending. I'm not here to say Maori are the only ones that do it. But just because Maori aren't the only ones, does that mean that we should just let it be then? If we want Maori-led movements, Maori politics to be different from colonizers, then we need transparency. Who makes the calls? Who handles the money? If we don't sort it out ourselves, Pākehā media will do it for us, and they won't do it with aroha. Once again, this is not Maori attacking Maori. It's Maori holding Maori accountable. If you spent the cash, own it. If you're gonna lead openly. Here's a question for many of us. Toi Tu Tiriti Limited is an LLC, or limited liability company. a for-profit entity. It's 100% owned by Kiri Tamihere Waititi, the daughter of Te Partly Maori President John Tamihere and wife of co-leader Rawiri Waititi. Is that not confusing for Eru Kapa-Kingi to go on legacy media and speak on his concerns with leadership of Te Partly Maori and their direction when his co-leader of Toi Tu Tiriti and the full 100% owner is also the wife of the co-leader of Te Partly Maori and the daughter of the president of Te Partly Maori? Another thing, if you are a non-for-profit, you can still get paid a salary inside of it, but the money stays within the kaupapa. Whereas a for-profit LLC, just like Toi Tu Tiriti is, the profits and decisions serve the shareholders, or in this case, shareholder. So is it truly a grassroots movement, or has the grassroots fed this business? Because it is a business. I don't know. Maybe she does good with the money. I don't fucking know. But that's what transparency is all about. One thing I do know though is a lot of you that know that I'm in Australia will be like, fuck you, you mozzie, you live in Australia, you have nothing to do with Aotearoa. Well, my passport says New Zealand, Aotearoa. My blood does not say tangata moi moia. My blood is Maori. So is my children's. And so are my tipuna. These are just some thought-provoking questions for the people, and some information that I've been given. So I thought I'd share. What are your thoughts? Anybody who has been spoken about on this, would you like to let us know your thoughts?
I should clarify that while this Mozzie sheds light on the grievances behind the rupture, what is going on has nothing to do with Maori politics. It's Westminster colonial politics that's being tested here. Maori politics is very different to colonial politics, and we've not regressed that far back just yet. What we are seeing is that Maori tikanga and Westminster politics are incompatible. Specifically, Maori megalomania and representative government are irreconcilable and cannot coexist. The explanation given by Eru Kapa-Kingi for breaking away from Te Partly Maori was concerns he had about the way the power structure within the party operates. In particular, he criticised comments from the party that suggested it was the only rightful voice of Maoris in Parliament. This is what Eru is reported to have said.
It's not true that Te Partly Maori is the only kaupapa Maori party entitled to hold the Maori seats. That is a false, ego-driven narrative. Power doesn't sit with one party, it sits with the people.
So Eru Kapa-Kingi condemns Te Partly Maori for being a dictatorship, for concentrating power in its leaders. But this criticism is self-defeating. Maori political organisation has never been about representative governance. It was built on ancestry, hierarchy and ego. Chiefs ruled because of bloodline and their personal grandiosity, not because ordinary people voted for them. It was a feudal order in which authority came from who your parents were and how much prestige you could project. There was no constitution, no equality of voice and no obligation to consult the masses. In 1840, the New Zealand Islands were a battleground of 650-odd megalomaniacs. The Toi Tu Tiriti presents itself as a movement to restore Maori authority, yet its frontman attacks Te Partly Maori for acting exactly as such authority has always worked, inherited, personality-driven, and dominated by ego. If that's a fault, it is a fault of the very system that Eru is calling to restore. The contradiction is glaring. You cannot demand a return to ancestral leadership while condemning it for being dictatorial. That is precisely what it's always been. Either you stand for feudal hierarchy based on bloodline and ego, or you stand for modern representative democracy. Pretending that they are both the same just calls Eru's IQ into question, even more than his previous discombobulated arguments. Kapa-Kingi's complaint is hollow. It's not a principled stand against dictatorship. It's simply another ego contest within a system that has always been defined by ego. Lord Tamihere said it himself.
Because it's not about the money. I'm in this game for our mana, right?
The other issue I have with Eru complaining about a lack of representative accountability in the leadership of Te Partly Maori is that he recently wrote of his aspirations to establish a separate nation state by carving off some sovereign New Zealand territory. No one in the Tamahiri fiefdom, not Lord John, not Te Partly Maori, or even Eru himself, wants a representative democracy in Eru's imagined new nation state. They want feudalism. How can Eru demand representative governance from Te Partly Maori when tikanga Maori does not admit representation? It derives authority from ancestry and megalomania. That makes no sense at all. Look, you can have representative democratic governance or you can have tikanga Maori feudalism, but you can't have both, Eru. Now, if the Mozzie we heard from before is right about the reasons for Eru's mum being sidelined, this once again confirms that Te Partly Maori is acting in accordance with tikanga Maori in relation to the distribution of funds. Tikanga Maori mandates that the rangatira class takes the largest proportion of any resources. Their family and relations are next to benefit, and very little gets filtered down to the tutor class. Not only is this system tikanga Maori, but it is also clearly the tikanga of the Tamahiri fiefdom. Eru seems to like tikanga Maori when there's a quid in it, but when he finds himself demoted to the tutor class and loses his sway, he's suddenly all in favour of colonial politics. From what I've seen between this latest episode of Eru's Wet Dream Chronicles and his back catalogue, his cogency isn't getting any better. He switches between Maori and English to hide the fact that ego is mana. He's arguing against the very system that his movement is promoting. His reasoning simply doesn't pass muster. If Eru truly wants representative governance of a new nation state, then the only thing that distinguishes this new Maori land of his from New Zealand is race. And that means Eru is a racist who hates white people. If I am wrong and Eru does want representative government, then he should disband his Toi Tu Tiriti feudal movement. One way or another, he's either being a hypocrite or a racist. We see you, Eru. On the upside, the implosion of the whole Tamahiri fiefdom can't come soon enough. And between Romain Ferris and Eru Kapa-Kingi, it's coming in spadefuls. Let's hope that the ethnic seats in Parliament are gone soon, and that should be the end of Te Partly Maori. Those are my views. Leave a comment and let Eru know whether you agree with him that Te Partly Maori are megalomaniacs, and whether you also agree with him that Westminster colonial representative democracy is better than tikanga Maori feudal aristocracy. Thanks for watching. Give us a like, would you, and do hit subscribe to be notified of new content as it drops. See you next time.